So in this second part of the lecture, what I want to do is talk a little about some of the different approaches that we might use to strategic management. Okay, so when we talk about approaches, we're talking about some of the different schools of thought about where strategy might actually come from. So if you look at the strategic management literature, what you'll find is that there's many different frameworks for identifying and defining what the different types of competitive strategies are that an organisation might use. The study of strategic management really took off in the United States around the 1960s and was very heavily influenced by the military approaches to understanding strategy. And you had schools like Harvard and Chicago that were some of the first to offer these courses in business policy at the time it was called, or business strategy as it later became. And from that time, a number of different models of strategy have actually emerged. Some of the most important ones have been developed by people like Michael Porter. Michael Porter says that we've got a couple of different approaches we might have in terms of differentiation, low cost or niching, that we might actually use to build a strategy. Others like the Boston Consulting Group and the BCG matrix are pretty well known by people in business. The BCG matrix talks about things like, it talks about categorising businesses into one of four frames, into dogs, cash cows, question marks or stars. And based on where they fall in that typology, that sort of informs the decisions we might make about the business and how we develop and grow that business. Later work that's come more recently includes things like the Three Horizons approach and the Blue Ocean strategy approach. Blue Ocean strategy has become very popular as a sort of visioning exercise that many actual businesses undertake and engage in. I'm a little bit sceptical of Blue Ocean strategy myself, but it certainly is one that's very popular from a practitioner perspective. So what I want to do is just quickly run through some of those different frameworks and just give you a bit of a very brief overview about what these frameworks talk about. I'm going to start by talking about the work of Michael Porter. Now, Michael Porter is probably one of the best, if not the best known writers on strategic management. So Porter completed his PhD at Harvard and works there to this day, and is one of the leading writers in the field of strategic management. And Porter has looked at a couple of areas. He's looked at competitive strategy and how organisations can align their strategy with changes in industry. And he's also been at the forefront of international strategy, so looking at strategy and strategic approaches to international markets and how we might analyse an international market for its attractiveness. And what Porter did in his early work is to look at a range of different industries and a range of different strategies pursued by businesses. And he said that while there's lots of different specific strategies that an organisation might use, there's sort of three broad categories or three broad approaches to competitive advantage and strategy that organisations pursue. And these three approaches either come from being a low-cost producer, being a producer of highly differentiated products, or from finding a specific niche or spot within the market that you can compete pretty much unencumbered from competition from other firms. Okay, so while the specifics of those strategies play out very in a very detailed way in actual business practice, there's only three real approaches. So a low-cost strategy is all about trying to find a way of reducing the overall cost structures of the organisation. And if you can outcompete every other company in the industry on the basis of cost, that enables you to be more nimble in your competitive position in terms of pricing. So a classic example of low-cost competitors are companies like IKEA. IKEA and Walmart is another great example as well. IKEA do everything that they possibly can to keep their cost structures as low as possible so they can provide a very affordable homewares product to consumers. A differentiation strategy, on the other hand, is one where we focus on producing highly differentiated products. So products that are believed or perceived to be unique in some particular way. Now I say perceived because a lot of the differentiation is actually marketing guff. Often there's not a lot of really significant difference between two particular products, but through marketing activity we're able to convince people that our product is very unique and distinctive, and as a result it's really warrants paying a higher price. The other strategy again is this notion of niching. Okay, so niching is about focusing on a particular small segment of the market and targeting that very effectively. If you think about the luxury car manufacturers like Bentley, Rolls-Royce or Ferrari, they don't try and service every sector of the car industry. They found a small niche of consumers, of high value consumers, who are willing to pay a price premium for a distinctive product. So Porter says that what we're trying to do is to look at ways that we can innovate and either reduce our cost structures, so change something internally, or if we're doing differentiation, we might find some new way to create value for our consumers. Another framework was developed by Treacy and Wiersma, and this framework says that basically, again, we've got three sort of ways that we can actually compete, three ways that we can excel in the mind of the customer, and if we can hit one of these three areas, then that is actually going to give us greater levels of satisfaction with the customer and therefore increase the likelihood they'll continue to buy a product. So from their framework, basically they said that the three approaches are either product leadership, so by being known for excellence in products and product design, in the features of the product, the nature of the product being able to satisfy the needs and wants of individual customers. Alternately, we might build a strategy around customer intimacy by forming very close relationships with the customers and offering them a highly customized product. Now you see this customer intimacy approach used a lot in service industries, building those very strong bonds. Or we might focus on operational excellence. So operational excellence is by being the most efficient and effective at producing new products for the market. So if we think about operational excellence, that probably aligns most closely with Porter's idea about being a low-cost driven firm, while product leadership and customer intimacy are more about differentiation. How do we make our organisation distinctive and different in the eyes of the consumer? So what they say in their framework is that this can be achieved by investing in a stream of new developments and new capabilities that bring connections together between distinctive features that the customer values. Okay, so their framework is very much orientated around understanding the customer's perspective and what the customer is willing to pay for. The third approach is the BCG matrix, and you've probably again heard of this BCG matrix. It's a portfolio approach. It says that what we see is that businesses can fall into one of four types. They can either be cash cows, mean they're very mature products that are performing well, that generate a lot of revenue for the organisation. We might have dogs, which are companies or product lines that are on their last legs in the product life cycle that don't generate a lot of revenue and actually are a bit of a drain on the organisation. We might also have stars, which are new emerging businesses that are growing very rapidly and look like in the future that they will become cash cows for the organisation. And the final category we have is what's called question marks. So a question mark business is a business where we're not really sure how it's going to track. Is it going to grow into a cash cow? Is it going to eventually become a dog? What will this business do? So what the BCG matrix tells us is that any company, any organisation building and developing a strategy needs to manage a portfolio of businesses, and we actually want a mix of the businesses in these different categories. Okay, so we don't want all of our businesses to be cash cows. That might be good at generating short-term cash flow for the organisation, but at some point all of those cash cows will eventually become dogs. Those markets will sink, and unless we have new stars coming through, we're not going to have a new leg for the organisation. Okay, so it's very important then that we have a mix of businesses, and even in some cases it might be important to have dogs, particularly if those dogs are blocking other firms from getting access into an industry. Or it might be that that dog is actually linked to another one of our businesses, and therefore it provides a sort of supplemental benefit for the organisation. So again, the BCG matrix is just a way of thinking about strategy that says the job of the strategist is to manage the mix of organisations. And so if we were to interlace this with entrepreneurship and innovation, what innovation would tell us is that we need to be continually finding new products to create new versions of these organisations. A fourth model that we see is the three horizons approach. And this basically says that organisations should be active in 3 sorts of spheres of work. And I think this model aligns probably the most tightly with the notion of innovation and entrepreneurship, because it's talking about scenarios and it's talking very much about future adaptability and change within the organisation. So the first horizon upon which we should be strategising and developing ideas is in our current mainstream markets. Okay, so thinking about the products we're currently producing, how we're producing them, how we compete effectively. And this is almost like the day-to-day business of the organisation. Okay, so we certainly need to be strategising there. The second horizon is thinking about how can we extend these existing offers? How can we incrementally change within our existing businesses so that we're able to stay dynamic and reinvigorate the product life cycle? Okay, so the first horizon is very much business as usual. Horizon 2, on the other hand, is very much about thinking about incremental change to that existing market and how we might grow. Horizon 3, on the other hand, is more concerned with radical innovation. It's really asking ourselves, at some point this industry is going to go into decline. And so where are we as an organisation going to develop and grow in the future? What changes can we make as an organisation that might take us into new and different and varied trajectories as a business? Okay, so these are the 3 horizons that we need to operate on. And there's that third horizon that is, again, most closely linked to innovative and entrepreneurial behaviour. And the final approach, and again, I think the reason partly that this is popular is it's very, very closely linked to entrepreneurial behaviour, is this notion of blue ocean strategy. And so basically, the premise of blue ocean strategy is that too often in organisations, we're blinkered and blinded by our current operating context. Okay, so we spend all of our time thinking about what we're doing now, and we're sort of bound by that. We don't seem to be able to get outside of that current frame of reference. And so what the authors of Blue Ocean Strategy said was that if you want to be effective at strategising, particularly long-term and innovative strategising, that what you need to do is actually take yourself out of that context. You need to think about, like you're on a big blue ocean where there's many different possibilities that you could do, that you don't actually have any of the constraints that you have currently in place for your organisation. And what you need to do then is, freed up from thinking about your current situation, you're more enabled to actually think about different trajectories. I suppose another way of thinking about this would be blue sky thinking, thinking about how we can actually come up with something completely different for the organisation. So as I said, this blue ocean thinking does tend to be, this big picture thinking does tend to be very popular in industries. And certainly there's some symbolic benefits in actually engaging in that. So that gives us a bit of an overview about the different approaches to strategy. What I want to do now is just talk a little bit about innovation strategy and entrepreneurship strategy, or more correctly talked about as strategic entrepreneurship.